Welcome to Rick and That Michelle Chick. I'm That Michelle Chick.
And I'm Rick. Welcome. Episode number 2.
Yes, super excited. But I do have a few items of business that we need to take care of before we jump into whatever we are going to talk about.
Okay.
First,
this is gonna be a potpourri because I have.
This is going to be a long episode compared to our first one.
Okay. All right. I'm
okay. So
in.
First, I need to apologize for episode 1 and the editing. My 19-year-old daughter, Shaylee, she was in the car with my husband, Jay. They were driving home from Oregon, and he was listening to our podcast. So she was forced to listen to it. And she said that it was overly edited.
Oh, geez.
So
okay.
I apologize. I was trying to cut us down to 30 minutes because we are very long-winded. So my apologies. I'll try to not over-edit this episode for future ones. Second, I have a surprise for you. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready?
Hit me with it.
Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, that's the garbage picture.
Yes, it's our garbage photo.
They're in with the Harry Potter glasses.
You in the back. Yep.
Harry
There's
Potter
Eddie
glasses.
Lane.
Yep.
There's Shirley Manson.
Yep.
There I am with my husband and Jammin' Justin Riley.
Way back in there. That's is that
Debbie Wild?
Yep, absolutely. Wasn't she
And
DJ
her
Wild?
Yes.
DJ Wild. And interesting enough, now here's the big deal. What you're going to love about this, about garbage, is the drummer, his name is Butch Vig, okay? And what makes it so amazing that you got to meet Butch Vig is he was the producer on the Nirvana album Nevermind. So there you go. If you want a little piece of musical history, the producer that started the grunge thing with Kurt Cobain is in that picture with you. Butch Vig, the drummer, is in Garbage. So there you go. A little history for you.
Oh, thank you for that. Are those the sweatpants? Is she wearing the sweatpants you were talking about in the first episode?
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, she's wearing them. Sure, absolutely.
So go back. Yep, go back if you didn't listen to the first episode and you'll find out why. Also, I will post this on our Facebook and Instagram.
Jay does not look like that.
What? What are you talking about? None of us look like that now. Look at us.
Well, give me some Harry Potter glasses and we'll see. We'll see about that. But
I almost had to look and see if Eddie was
Lane.
you.
That's Eddie.
Well, I know, but at first
Eddie Lane's shorter than I am. Eddie was shorter than I am.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, anyways, that photo will be up on our socials. We now have a Facebook and Instagram page, Rick and That Michelle Chick. So you can go check that out if you're not watching us on video.
I love that. And Eddie Lane always would wear keys around his neck. So he would. Whatever he would go, he looked like a janitor with keys around his neck. I don't know why he had. Yeah, remember that?
Maybe. Yes, I do. Now that you say that,
yeah.
Maybe
if you go look at the photo, you can see the keys hanging around his neck there. So
maybe he lost them a lot. I mean, who knows?
I can give you
third.
I can give you some things about Eddie. Eddie was a cook. Did you realize? Remember, Eddie was a cook.
Yes.
Like you loved cooking stuff. Okay, I got lots of stories.
We do. We'll have lots of time for all these characters that were in our lives during this time. But thirdly, I wanted to congratulate you on your award that you received. What was it for?
Well, in our company, the President's Club Award. So they have Digital Content Creators of the Year. And then what they do is they take the 70 radio markets, which means it's across the country. So Buffalo, Grand Rapids, Shreveport. And they have 70 radio markets, and they whittle it down to 20 people who get what they call the President's Award. So I got one of those President's Award, and I did not get the trifecta because I have 22 and 23, and I have 24. Again, I don't like to toot my own horn about it, but I was like, oh, well, now to me, I'd rather probably not have had it because I don't have 3 in a row. I've only got 2, and 1's missing.
Well, and now you have this huge expectation to live up to getting it again or more in the future.
It's my second in 3 years. So there you go. But this particular one was unexpected because in 22, I did win the digital award for the company. So it wasn't like I was expecting it, but it just naturally meant that would come my way. So the 24 was the shocker one. It's kind of like an Oscar. Sally Field. I can't believe you guys really like me. But anyway, yeah, there you go. Toot my horn, I guess, but I could care less.
What other awards besides those?
So
3 or those 3
have
you won in your entire career? Can you list them all? You should have them on a little mantle behind you. With gold ornate things.
So I have a lot. I mean, again, I've been very fortunate. I have behind me, I have the gold records and different things and it was so funny was when I first got started in radio, all I really wanted was a gold album with my name on it. That was it. I felt like if you got the gold album with your name, not the radio station name, but your name, it meant you were a good programmer. So the hilarity was, I got when I went to Bakersfield. When I went to Bakersfield, that's where I picked up my first. I have a Shadazy. I have a Josh Grayson. I've got the Dina. Now the Dina Carter has a different radio station on it from Montana, but I have a couple of those awards. And then the hilarity is, I had told Jay Albright and Becky Brenner that I felt I had made it in radio if I got a gold album. So that Miranda Lambert that they sent me, we got great ratings on the Bull. And remember that Jay Albright has basically a storage shed of these. And she just says, take that down and get it engraved for yourself. So that one's but she sent it and it was engraved to Jay Albright. That one was that one that Miranda Lambert was engraved to Jay Albright. But she's like, take it down to the engraver. And she goes, if you want, and remember, she would periodically, when we were working on the Bull, she'd periodically send these albums. And they'd be hanging in the office, right? But yes. That was the funny joke between Becky and her and I and the staff, was the fact that she was like, that's all that motivates him, just some gold albums. Okay, I got a storage shed. Here you go.
Well, I was gonna say, don't the record companies just dole those out to everyone? Like this isn't a special.
No, not necessarily. So you have the big thing you have to be is more than anything else. You have to be a reporter. You have to be a reporter, and then also if you're early on a record. Like, so Josh Grayson and She Daisy, when you pick the song before it becomes a hit, is basically how you pick up gold albums. Now, once it becomes a million seller, once it's all that, then they'll send it to the band, they send it to the artist. I mean, the producers. I mean, everybody from that particular album, they have a list of that they get done. So, but still, I mean, it's tougher to get at a smaller market, right? I mean, these are, now back in the day, KFFM would get them. 107, when it was a reporter, it would get them, but it had the station's name on it. It never had, and I'm sure Michael Jack Kirby, all those guys, or Jim Allen had them, but it's hard to get.
I was going to say what being a reporter is, because, we are in radio, and that's a radio term. I don't think that's on my list, so that's why I'm having you.
So what's really changed? So what really has changed over the years is when I first got started in radio, even small towns, like my hometown of Lewiston, the top 40 was a reporter. That meant you'd call in your ads. So you're adding whatever records you're adding that week. So a magazine called Radio and Records, and then that's what would publish the play. Yeah, R&R would publish the playlist, and they would take all those songs, all those calls, and then they would combine it. Well, the record rep would call you and go, hey, man, that Goo Goo Dolls song, man, it's blowing up. It's on 60 radio station. The guy across the street's already on it. You're not on it, dude. Where are you at? And then they try to butter you up and try to get you to add, you could add good records and you could add really crappy records too, right. And so being a reporter back in the day used to be everything, because they'd come to town, wine and dine you, all of that. It was so funny. And that's where that plugola palo we were going to talk about comes in. From radio
that's
stations.
One of the words, that we will give a definition for later on in this episode.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yes. So, but the promoter was a way to get around it. So interesting enough, when you think, even today, I'll even talk about Seattle radio and Becky Brenner. So even today, when you're like, man, they have a semi truck wrapped, and they have an airplane in the air that's wrapped, and they got these banners and these T-shirts and all this stuff in major markets, it's all paid for by the record company. The radio company don't pay. I love what Becky Brenner once said to me about CBS. And I said, oh man, CBS. And she goes, can't buy shit. CBS.
I don't remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So and I worked at KMPS and CBS when I was in Seattle. But the hilarity was, I love that when I said, in terms of a competitive nature, I said, oh my gosh, you had semis and you had, airplanes in the air and all this. And she goes, yeah, because the record reps are like, play this crappy record and I'll wrap a semi for you, basically.
Which is kind of in episode 1, we kind of touch on that with the Alanis Morissette and what happened when she came to town. So you can go back and listen to that episode and to understand why.
Because, Michele, you can be one of two ways. You could try to I'm going to uphold the music and I'm going to only add the records I like. Or you can literally be a whore, which we have a lot of friends, or I've known people that had got busted for plugola payola because they had these record reps paying their bills. They had big screen TVs, different things like that. I once had a record rep call and go, "Hey man, Rick really needs you on this record. So what if I put this in a brand new CD boombox for you? What if I put this CD single in a boombox and ship it to you?"
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "No, you send me the CD single and I'll take a listen and I'll let you know if I like it."
Oh.
No, now looking back, what? Should have had a stock room of CD players, man. Should have had big screen TVs. I should have.
No. No, because you know what happens to people that do that, which
they get busted. Yeah,
that's right. We'll talk about that.
Busted. So so for years, so great example, for years, KFM used to be a reporter. That meant that the record rep would do whatever you wanted. So you'd have flyaways, tickets, you named it. Well, what happened is, like everything through deconsolidation, suddenly they didn't give a crap about Yakima anymore. They don't care about the Tri-Cities. They don't care about any of that. So that's all gone away. And that went away probably, 20 years ago, probably?
Oh, yeah. But back when the FCC, when they allowed all these radio stations to start buying up each other. That all basically
so once
went away.
deconsolidation happened in 96, they said, well, you bought your competition. Why do I need to, you're going to play the record no matter what. So they really backed down on that. And I recall, this is probably after you left 107, but I recall being in a different market. And this is before I had come back to Yakima, and 107 was the Lone Ranger. Like, it was a big, massive station. And Hot 99.7 signed on, and I went, "Oh, that shit's going to be in half." And it literally cut. No, it did. It literally cut 107 in half. Like, that was it. And then after that, once Hot 99.7 got ahead of 107, it never recovered for years. Remember? It did not.
I mean, when a new radio station signs on, everybody has to listen to it, and then eventually it kind of evens back out. The one that was number one.
For top 4, especially top 40. So a little behind the scenes about radio stations, about top 40. So top 40 is they don't spend a lot of time with it, but there's a lot of people listening. So when a new one signs on, they immediately go to what's new because they're young. They're 18 to 24, 18 to 34. They're going to go to the new hottest thing. Now, when you're in a country radio station battle, that's totally different because you're going against a heritage radio station. So those battles could take 3, 4, 5 years, and no one has the patience when it comes to ratings. They just they want it today.
Right, and country listeners are a lot more loyal.
Oh, yeah, so the loyal listeners, news talk, rock radio stations, and country. And then I always used to say that CHR is the Paris Hilton or the Kardashians because it is on to the next, no matter what. Doesn't matter how cool you are, how great you are. It's like the minute they think that you're uncool, and it just depends also on the makeup of the audience. So when we would go to downtown Yakima, which is 80% Hispanic, guess what? KFFM to them is like the most unhip thing on the planet. Bunch of white people on that radio station. You know what I'm saying? While over at 99.7, you got Blaze and you got Wheezy and all that. And so that is just the ethnicity of, different formats and the makeup of those, and Hot 99.7 being more rhythmic, which it means more dance or urban compared to KFFM. So yeah, you're going to go into pockets even in radio where they're like, "I don't like you." Why are you in my classroom talking about your dumb radio station? I like Hot 99.7. So you get a little bit of that. And especially as you know, Michele, junior high, once you go talking for elementary school kids love you. Right? Oh my gosh, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Yes. Then you go to 6th, 7th, 8th graders. They like, you're uncool. Like Middle school. You're like, "Hey, I'm from the radio station." Yeah.
So
yeah, and especially in today, Michele, as you know, everybody wants to be a content creator. So maybe 20 years ago it was cool to be at the radio station. Now it's like you are radio. You're as my son says, you're irrelevant.
I mean, to the kids those age now, yes, they wouldn't care. They don't care. But I mean, maybe the fact that we're podcasters might,
I guess,
make us a little bit better.
But I'm curious if this has happened to you in your career about radio. It's so funny when my wife meets new people for the first time. She goes, "What does your husband do?" And she goes, "Oh, he works in radio." The first question they ask, Are they on the air? Are they on the air? That's the first question. Did that ever happen to Jay? Like, "Oh, my wife works in radio. Is she on the air?"
Well, and that's happened to me, when you meet someone for the first time and they ask, "Oh, what do you do?" And you say, "Oh, I'm on the radio," or "I work for the radio station." And that's what they say. "Oh, are you on the radio?"
Yep. That's the first one. So
Yep.
so it's so funny working with salespeople because there's so many people that work at radio stations, account executives,
Yes.
traffic people, and there's less and less of those today, but there was back in the day, promotions people, and it's so funny. Then it's like the hilarity is you're not on the radio. Okay, I mean, yeah, you work there, but you're not on the radio. But also, as my wife has pointed out, radio is interesting. By anybody that you encounter about radio has an opinion about radio. Now, when you encounter a McDonald's employee, Jiffy Lube person, oh, I work at Jiffy Lube. Okay. They don't go, oh, I don't go to Jiffy Lube. Oh, I don't go to McDonald's. Oh, I don't go to Taco Bell. It's oh, I don't listen to the radio, or I don't listen to your station. Like, whoa, no one asked that opinion, but they sure love to give it about radio, don't they, Michele?
Oh, yes. I refer to radio listeners as the very first trolls, internet trolls who, are keyboard warriors that can type horrible things about people. Radio listeners would tell it to your face at a remote broadcast how they didn't like your voice. They didn't like your laugh. You talk too slow. I'm referring to everything that I've heard. You're a horrible parent. You look nothing like I thought you were. I thought you were going to be brunette.
That's always the best one.
One of those words is on my list. Face for radio coming up, so we will give the definition for radio. You have a face for radio.
Well, and let's talk really quick. I know I don't want to dwell too much out of the topic, but it's different being a man compared to being a woman in radio.
Oh yes. Again,
you are judged way more harshly than a man has ever judged. Yes. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I think now I've always said if you get a great female jock, you know what I'm saying, you got gold. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always men are a dime a dozen. Men disc jockeys, I mean, they're all over the place. But a good female disc jockey, hard to come by.
Which, when I started, which I'll tell my story coming up, it was hugely male dominated back in the 90s in radio. Luckily, it's gotten a little bit better, but I feel like women as a whole are just so critical of each other, and hopefully it's getting a little bit better compared to how it was back then.
What's really changed, even from a program standpoint, is I remember, so right now on one of my stations, I'm the only male on the radio station. That's it.
Which is completely backwards than how it used to be.
Right. So the morning person's a female, the midday person's a female, the weekend, all the weekend town are all female. I'm the only male point through the key down in Tri-Cities. And back in the day, you would have just been midday. They wouldn't have put you in afternoons, and only if you had a male in mornings. They wouldn't have put you at nights. I mean, the list goes on where they would not put in a woman.
Right.
And they didn't, and you never had a woman back to back. Oh, nope. She'd be great in afternoons, and we already have a female midday. Nope, can't have two women back to back.
You couldn't play two female artists in country back to back. This was just a few years ago.
Yeah, it's insane how much it's changed. Yeah, absolutely. And
thank goodness.
And then when you think about it, don't you really think that it was self-imposed, like a bunch of basically bullshit? When you look back, come on.
Yes.
When you look back. You look back at some of the stupid things. I felt like it was just people justifying their paycheck for the most part. Because right now in radio, you could have Addison Rae and you could play Addison Rae 20 minutes apart, and the listener does not care. You know what I'm saying? Or Taylor or Sabrina Carpenter. They don't care. Research shows they don't care.
If it's a good song, they don't care.
They don't care. So it's hilarious how much it's changed. But I feel it was self-inflicted. I think we did it to ourselves. We said no females back to back or any of those crazy
that'd
things.
be you dudes that said that.
I did not. But I'm just saying that it would. But I remember having to program that way. I remember going and saying, "Man, I got a great female jock that could be great in the afternoons. I got a great midday jock in Michele." And they're like, "Nope, we're not going to hire her. Nope."
Yeah.
So
okay,
tell us the story how you got into radio.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, which I don't think I've ever told this story before. Not like on the air when we worked together, or I just don't think it's really ever came up. But listening to the radio for me was an escape in my teenage years. My parents were divorcing for the second time from each other. That's right.
That's a story.
They got married, got divorced when I was 6, got remarried when I was 9, and then got divorced again when I was around 13, 14. During this time, I was taking care of my little brother a lot more. That fell on me a lot more because my mom just kind of checked out, which looking back, I think she may have been manic. And back in the 90s, mental health wasn't really discussed. I mean, she's on Prozac now, which I'll probably get in trouble for disclosing that, but I mean, it is true. So, um
Everybody's on pills today.
right. She would stay up and write people letters that would be, 10 pages plus long. I mean, this is just the behavior back then that now
Right.
looking back, I'm recognizing that, oh, okay, something was really not right. Or again, mentally, she just wasn't where she needed to be. Anyway, I had to juggle making sure that my brother either had lunch money or I would ration food to make sure that I could pack him lunch. And during this time, my mom just wasn't really a happy person. I mean, for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, she was going through this divorce with my dad, and she kind of took everything out on us, more so me, because I was older and I looked more like my dad. So again, radio was just that escape that I really needed at the time. And I remember she would come home from work saying how much she hated her job. And at the time, she worked at the Yakima County Courthouse in the elections records department, which I know they issue marriage licenses, but that's really all I remember that they actually do. And my dad also chose his new family over my brother and I at the time. So there was just a lot going on in my life. And I think it was in eighth grade in middle school. And you know how they try to get you to start thinking about
Yeah.
your future
True.
and what you
Yeah.
want to do right once you graduate high school. And I had no idea whatsoever until one day I was listening to the radio and Keith Taylor was on. He was doing middays at the time on 107.3
Yep.
KFFM,
Yep.
the top 40 station we talk about. He gave away a pair of tickets. I don't remember what they were for. I don't remember at all, but I remember the winner was so overly excited. She kept thanking him, and I could hear in her voice that she was crying. She was,
Aw.
so happy and excited for
Yeah.
these tickets. And she kept thanking him over and over. He said, "This is the best job in the world." And in that moment, just like that light bulb just went off in my head. And I thought, oh my God, like this would be an amazing job. You get to listen to your favorite music because I loved the music at the time, and you get to give away stuff and people are going to love you. So I decided that I was going to call up the radio station and see if I could get a tour. So I called the business office. Sure enough, I got a tour of the radio station, and I went when Keith was on the air. He was working, and they took me to the control room, and he was trying to explain things. But at that time, it was just flying. Everything was just going over my head. A control board
Yeah. Of
looks
course.
like you just stepped into the cockpit of an airplane. It's just
Right.
completely alien and foreign to you. You have no idea what all these buttons are for. And so after that day, I kind of made it my goal that one day, I am going to work for 107.3 KFFM. And in high school, like you mentioned earlier, we have the Yakima Valley Skills Center that you could
Yep.
go to in your junior and senior year. And they had a radio broadcasting class, and I attended it my junior and senior year. And I, at 16 years old, got my first job doing weekend overnights. That's the midnight to 6 a.m. Friday through Saturday on 10 Double D.
Oh, yeah.
And at the
Big
time, like
station.
we just mentioned, women, I think I was the only woman on that radio station. So I worked with, the greats like Todd Lyons and the Hutch.
Yeah.
I
Good
think Chris
folks.
and Butch were doing mornings. Yeah, there was literally no women in the Monday through Friday lineup. And then I got poached by 101.7 KZXR in Prosser. And then finally, a midday slot opened up at 107, and I applied for it and I got it. But at the time, Keith Taylor was doing mornings. So he was
Yeah.
doing mornings now, and I was doing middays. A little side note about Keith Taylor: about 8 years ago, I ran into him at Costco, and he recognized me, but he couldn't remember where he knew me. You know how you recognize someone, but
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh,
Sure.
I can't place where I know them. And he said something to me, and I was like, oh yeah, we used to work together. And once I rattled it off, it kind of clicked in his mind. And then after the little pleasantries that you do, he just rattles off that he a week ago had hair plug transplants. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, one, I did
What?
not need to know this. And two,
What?
I couldn't have
Yeah.
even had could tell that he had it done. So it was just bizarre, but he was always a little off like
That
that.
is
But
that is strange. Just so before you go on, my hair is real. I know that may shock everybody. And at my age, and as you already know, no gray at my age, which is pretty
are
crazy.
lucky.
I'm
I dye
lucky, but
mine.
but I have to spike it like this because of the cowlick. So continue on.
Okay, so I left 107 after I became pregnant with my first son. We moved to Bellevue, and then we moved back to Yakima in 1998, and I applied again at 107 and got a job doing middays. And that's where you and I worked together for the first time. Since then, I've worked at KXDD and 92.9 The Bull. And like we touched on a little bit earlier, as a woman in radio, I was told early on that women don't like women, blah, 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 stuff like that. Thankfully, radio has gotten better over the years. So now that we've kind of touched on how we know each other and when we work together, I thought we could tell the story of what happened when we first worked together. Yeah.
So you want that one? That's you know what?
Let's just dive right into that story.
That is a story I've used forever in my career. Now I gotta take it back to 1998. I was working in Seattle at a company called The Research Group, and it went out of business. And this is back when deconsolidation happened, and so so people were using radio research, what songs played well and all that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the company went under because of deconsolidation. Everybody bought everybody else, and so that led me to 107.3 because I was in Seattle and I applied at KFFM. Now, interesting enough, you guys were owned by Inkstead at the time, at Inkstead, but you were unaware that they were trying to sell it to Clear Channel. So what happened was, when I interviewed with Dave Ahmet, and Jim Allen was the program director at the time, the radio station had like a 16 share. It was number one in the market. It was number one in the market, even beating KXTD. And so Jeff Jacobs and I both interviewed at the same time. So what happened was, Dave Ahmet wanted me for the AC station, Sunny 92.9, which had Bob and Corey on it. Did not want me for 107 at all. So I was already going up a hill, if that made sense in that job interview. They wanted
I did
Jeff
not know
Jacobs.
that. I don't think you've ever said that before.
Yeah, no, they wanted Jeff Jacobs. But unbeknownst to Dave Ahmet, now I'm going to break it down to you. You're making $30,000 a year, okay? No.
Oh yeah, I think I was barely making 20,000 at the time.
Yeah, so, you're making 30,000. So what happened was, Randy Holland, who was their Ingstad guy, said, "No, you're hiring Rick. He'll do both stations. Period." That was it. There was no discussion on it. Because I interviewed with Randy as well, and I don't think they could. And really, honestly, they didn't come to terms with Jeff Jacobs. Dave Ahmet wanted Jeff Jacobs more than anybody. I mean, I know that was the fact. So you're coming in behind. Okay, so you're coming in behind the 8 ball already. And then it's my first program director gig. And then at the time, the morning guy, which is Rick Dunn, who's now gone on to great success, had gotten fired for a stunt and a prank they pulled at Jack in the Box with magazines, right? And Dave Ahmet was very sales driven. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you went on the air and said, "Oh, I don't like Pepsi," or Coke or whatever, he'd lose his ever loving mind, which we'll talk about.
In so much trouble.
Yeah, you couldn't go on the air and be even technically local about anything. "Oh, I went into, Ace Hardware. Why'd you mention, I'm saying, anyway, that's money." So it's kind of like when you watch that movie, Private Parts with Howard Stern. It's like, that's Buffalo Man.
That's exactly how it was.
Yeah, it was. And so so I was second choice in that particular situation. First time program director coming in. So I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. Now 107 was totally live 24/7 back in the day.
Yep.
So a couple things that I had. So Rick Dunn got fired. Then I was left with Stacy and Delmer. Now, we could probably delve into that a little bit later on. But as you have come to find out, if I have one mortal enemy on this planet, I'll have a couple. Stace is going to be one of them. Because here's the deal. So when Jim Allen, who was the former program director, when I interviewed with him, he says, "Oh, Stace will do whatever you want, but you've got to be her friend first, and she has to warm up to you and like you, you know what I'm saying? And then she'll do whatever you want." Well, so I came aboard, and you and I both know she's one of the laziest humans I've ever come across.
Oh, goodness.
No, you know that. I'll say it. I don't care. I don't care if she's listening. She hates me. I hate her.
She is your mortal enemy. Yes.
Well, she chose to be. I didn't, but I remember we had gotten into several fights about saying about different things because I wanted, this is what we're doing, and she felt like she should have a say just because she's one half. That it was a great morning show, not her half. Rick's half was a great morning show. Rick Dunn's half was a great morning show. Delmer and her was not. So what happened was, the crazy thing is, her and I got into lots of fights. And one day she screamed at me. She screamed at me and goes, "I'm the radio station." And I said, "Well, now you're doing overnights." So I demoted Stacy to overnights. And she went into Lydia, who was the bookkeeper at the time, and goes,
she was
Rick
HR director.
HR director, and goes, "Rick's moving me to overnights." And she goes, "Well, he's the program director. He can move you to overnights. He's the program director." And she came in later that day and goes, and she goes, "Oh, for my health, I'm going to quit." And then Lydia looked at her and she goes, "For your health, you should quit." So
Lydia is the best. I have a Lydia story too later on.
Yeah, she don't sugarcoat nothing. You know what I'm saying?
No, she's black and white.
If I walked in and said I'm great, she'd go, "No, you're not." She just said like, "No, you're not. You're not. No, you're not. You're not funny." She goes, "You're not funny either." On top of it, not being great, you're also not funny. Yep. So what happened was we went and had to go do a nationwide search, or put it in R&R, and so we ended up getting Kramer, which we'll talk about Kramer down the road. So, but Kramer, now give Kramer credit, incredibly talented. He is talented, right? But volatile, insane. What words can I use to describe Kramer? If it wasn't his way, he'd just destroy things. Like, and I know you had more dealings than I did in terms of, because I left after, but anyway, what happened was Kramer comes on board, very strong personality. So I'm a first time PD, who I just want everybody to get along. I'm saying, can we just all get along? Right. And so he came to town, and it just kind of timed out to where he goes, "I'm not doing mornings with Stace." He's like, he said he had walked in on the weekend when she was sitting there eating a bucket full of cookies or something, and crumbs were everywhere. And he's like, "I'm not working with her." And so what happened was, so he refused to. So I had a new morning guy starting from Salt Lake City who refused to work with the morning co-host, right?
That was already there. Yes.
Yeah. So luckily she quit, right? Which meant there was an opening. Well, during that time,
I was doing middays.
You were doing middays, and you had come up to me and said, "Hey, if there, and I think it was in between, I think Stace was something like that. Anyway, it was a crossing of the paths. And you had said, "Hey, if it opens up, I want a shot at it," right? And I said to you, "Absolutely. Oh, you're in the running. You betcha. Yeah, you're the best, Michele." Anyway, the next day, not less than 24 hours later, the new morning co-host, Tracy Taylor, shows up from Spokane. I'd already hired somebody. So I literally had lied straight to your face about the situation. And then, do you want to finish it where you took me to task on it, or do you want me to finish it off?
I mean, you could finish it off. I don't remember what I said to you. You clearly remember this very vividly. So.
I have never forgotten it because it really changed my life. So now I want to preface it by the stuff we had just talked about. So it had nothing to do with you. What it had to do, what you had said earlier, you said that people had said that you were very soft on the radio.
Yes.
And we're doing and you're doing a top 40. So middays to some extent.
I was perfect.
That is truly how management looked at it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, "Oh, we got a good thing. Why would we mess with that?" Anyway, what happened was, so I had lied to Michele. Anyway, so she came to me and she said, I think we were in prod room A, and you said to me, you said, "Hey, I don't care that you already had somebody picked out and you hired somebody for the job, but you lied to me." And and I don't appreciate that, and blah blah blah, and you were very hurt by that, and I should have been honest. No, I should have been honest with you.
Right.
And so going forward from that day forward, I have gone out of my way with as much reason as possible to be honest with people, no matter what, even if it
it's hurtful. Like, it will hurt us at that time, but
I was like, but you taught me that. You taught me that lesson. Now, number one, what happened was, so the good news, I did make a promise to you. I did make a promise, though. I said the minute that job opened back up, it was going to be yours.
Which it did, because she didn't last very long.
No, so well, Kramer didn't last. Okay, so it all really revolved. No, it revolved around Kramer. So Kramer,
I did mornings with Kramer.
I know you
when
did.
She left.
But Kramer did not like her. I don't know what happened.
I didn't know that.
No.
He didn't like
Oh,
very many people.
no, he didn't. And so now, at the end of the day, and truthfully, I mean, it's the truth. We probably should have fired Kramer. You know what I'm saying? No, looking back, but again, you're looking now. Think about Howard Stern. Think about Rick Dees. Think
Right.
about your great air talent. You don't, you kind of let them walk on you a little bit. It's kind of sucky, but you let them walk on you
Which we
because they're the
talked
talent.
about, episodes. In episode 1, we talked about the different
Yeah,
personalities in radio and
right,
those
right.
egotistical
Oh yeah,
personalities, how
right.
volatile they are. And yeah.
Well, and one of the mean things he did to Tracy was down on Nob Hill. She was broadcasting Nob Hill Boulevard, and he had said under his breath, she said, "Oh, I'm out here on Nob Hill Boulevard, blah blah blah," and he goes, just walking the streets like you normally do." So that, yeah. So that was, so anyway, she quit. She was like, oh, actually, she did not quit.
She
I
got a
fired
job
her.
in Seattle, right? Doing
Yeah, she
traffic
did.
or
She went on to great success. Give
right.
her credit. Tracy
Yes.
Taylor went on to great success. I think she became a weather person. I think she was in Seattle. Technically, you can even be honest from a radio standpoint. She blew by Kramer. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, he
I'm
left
just
radio
saying,
a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago. So, but again, at the time, I mean, and if Kramer's listening, you got the talent, man. But we were young. I was inexperienced in handling talent like that. I didn't know what to do. I wanted, at the end of the day, Michele, I just wanted to be liked, and I still to this day have that problem. I'm a people pleaser. You know what I'm saying? Probably not the best position to be in. So,
I mean,
but the good
I
news
liked
is,
the fact that it was the first time I really stood up for myself.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we talked about,
yeah.
women in radio were,
Yeah.
not prevalent. We were the minority. So I was just proud that I, used my voice and expressed how I felt, and you received it and kind of went on to be a better program director because of it.
What it really changed more than anything else was, it's like, okay, and here's the thing. Now, the problem is, Michele, everybody has an opinion, as we always joke, everybody, it's like an asshole. Everybody's got it. So you had the sales manager, you had the general manager. So back then, any air talent, like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, you had everybody chiming in, and so it was for a newbie, it was kind of a hard decision to make. Now, for me, 107 was absolutely a horrific, because number one, I was not the number one choice.
Right.
So the decisions were second guessed all the way through, no matter what. And so what happened was, in between all this happening, Clear Channel bought us out, as you know. Clear Channel bought us out. Now, here's where, if you feel like you needed to get the, what's good for the goose, good for the gander, Tommy Austin, who at the time was a very celebrated Z100 Portland program director, had come to town, and he was part of the Clear Channel buyout. And if you want to talk about lying, and how I got the other end of the sword on that one, was I saw Tommy, and everybody, even Michele and anybody in the Kramer, everybody knew who Tommy Austin was. We all wanted to be Tommy Austin. He came to town, and he says, "Hey, nice to meet you, Rick." And I said, "Hey, did you get a chance to listen to the radio station?" So he goes, "Oh, it sounds great. You guys are doing a great job, right?" So anyway, so Tommy goes on his way, and a couple weeks later, I get called in by Dave Ahmet. And he sits me down and he goes, "Well, here's the deal: is Tommy Austin thinks the station sounds horrible, and we're gonna move you to Sunny 92.9." You know what I'm saying? So when you're talking about, and then I was like, he lied to me. You know what I'm saying? So I was in the same boat.
Right.
And for me, so that hurt me. Was like, hey, I mean, I would have respected Tommy if he walked in and said, "No, your station sounds like shit, and you're shit."
And he easily could have. We all worshipped him, and
but to this day, I could handle that from anybody more than lying to me, if that made sense. So that's that whole story about you and I and the lying and all that. And this was afterwards. So for me, so this is what I did, was like, I was like, oh, is this my first taste of Clear Channel? So I called an old employer who just happened to be looking for a program director, and that's why I left. And now, shame on me, this is where you make mistakes, is I would have done great on Sunny.
Oh, yes.
There was no reason to leave. No. I took a pay cut. I took a pay cut from $30,000 to go back to my hometown to work and I lasted 10 months. I ended up getting blown out of the next station because I couldn't define vision. What happened was, the first time out was a struggle. Second time out, couldn't define vision. And so I ended up getting fired at 10 months back in my hometown, making nothing. And then I went to the rock station I got hired by the rock station, and I was shocked, number one, because here I am playing Metallica and Tool and Rammstein, and I can say damn and ass on the air, which I was shocked by. And they took me aside and said, here's the deal, Rick. We don't care that you're a program director. We don't care what you think about our sweepers or liners. We want you to come in, do 2 to 7, and you be an on-air personality. It was the first time in my career I had ever been an on-air person, got to be an on-air personality. You know what I'm saying? So I took 10 months to hone phoners and all these different things. And so back in the day, I would send my air check out, Michelle. No one would hire me. I'd be like, oh, no, even Paul Drake back in 1994. I don't forget anything, as you know. I applied at the current state.
Especially someone who has done you wrong or didn't hire me.
1994, Paul Drake, my current boss, had sent me a letter like, Rick, you're not what we're looking for. So I have remembered that for 30 years. Now I work at that same station. I run that radio station that he said.
And you work with Paul.
Yeah, I work with him every single day. Yeah. So, and he's one of the reasons why I have all the awards, or he has to submit for those things. So, but it's interesting that my own ego, and I was 20, but you're 28 years old, you're 29. My own ego got in the way. Now, the cool thing, going to that rock station changed me, because I just did 10 months of intense on air. You're a personality. You don't give a shit about the playlist. You don't give a shit about the midday person. You don't give a shit about the morning person. And so the crazy thing is, after 10 months, I started sending my tapes out again, and people were going, you should be mornings. You should be mornings. And I went, what? Because I had never aspired to do mornings. Everybody had told me that I could never do mornings, do mornings. And the hilarity was,
why did they tell you that? You talk too fast.
Just the list went on and on. Number one, I think more than anything else was relatability, if that makes sense. When you're 28 years old, you don't. I mean, I started having Logan. I had Logan and stuff like that. But when you're,
I remember Logan playing with his Power Rangers in the KFFM studio when I was on the air, or whatever.
But when you're 18 years old, you should never do mornings. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. You have no life experience.
Yes.
Right. So when you start doing mornings, you bring life experience, and that's what makes you interesting. Things that happen that make you interesting. So what happened was, a year and a half after the whole U debacle and KFFM debacle, Cheryl Salamone had taken over as general manager, and I saw Sonny pop up, but at the time it was Q. And I saw that pop up. And so I reapplied, and of course Cheryl and I met. I then became Rick and Tom in the morning, but and I redeemed after that I redeemed myself.
Yes,
because third time was the charm.
Right,
no, third time was the charm.
Which after you left KFFM, and then you left me with that jerk of a boss. Like, you just abandoned me and left me
Kramer
with him.
ended up being the boss, right? Kramer ended up being the boss, right?
No.
Jeff Jacobs came. They got their man.
The one they wanted in the first place, which I did not know that story until now at all.
No, Dave Ahmed. Oh my God! But then Dave Ahmed ended up getting blown out of there too. These things, it's radio. Things happen. But I don't think we can talk about the Jeff Jacobs thing. All I can tell you is
I can talk about what it was like working with him.
Well, I know what it was like working with him, but legally, I do know the story. So what happened, real quick? Jeff Jacobs, they got their man. He was having the record rep pay his RV space and for a brand new RV, and that's why Don Ante, who was the promoter, that's how he got Ron Harris got him fired, basically.
Yes, I knew it was payola again, which is one of the words on our term definition list, and I knew he got nailed for that. So
he did. He was taking record rep money, basically. So,
but at that time, right before he got let go, I had given my notice because I could not deal with this guy. So, we do remote broadcasts, and normally we could decide if we want to do them or not.
Yeah.
And I was doing middays, which he moved me back to middays. I'd been co-hosting mornings with Kramer, and Jeff was going to do mornings, which he did it with JB, who was the morning or the afternoon guy. They did mornings together. He moved me back to middays. So
yes, behind the scenes. Yes. So what happened is, on my last week, Jeff Jacobs came to me when because we know Jeff, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Tommy Austin. So I was still the program director. And I said, and I never told you, but I never told you. You just brought it up. And I was like, well, what are you gonna do with the radio station? He goes, Michelle's going back to middays. JB's going to morning. No, he told me the plan. I'm like, well, and then I just went, well, not my radio station anymore.
Right.
but that's not what I would have done. You know,
I
he didn't.
mean, I would not have wanted to do mornings with him, so it was a blessing in
It,
disguise. And
it,
so
it
this
was,
remote,
but he
yeah,
made a
it was
judgment
better
call
for
about
me.
you. But he
Right.
made a judgment call again. They made
I
that soft judgment call, which is bullshit.
Yes. Which I don't think he ever really liked me because this remote broadcast came up. It was for the Valley Mall and it was 3 to 6 p.m. And at the time, Matthew and Benjamin were like 2 years and a year old. So they were in daycare during the day. And I couldn't find anyone to be able to do this remote broadcast. I could pick them up from daycare. They had to be picked up at 5, who could pick them up from daycare and then watch them until I got done. And Jeff was adamant that I have to do this remote because I'm a woman and it's for the Valley Mall, right? He is telling me I have to do this.
Yeah.
And I said, I would do it if I could find a babysitter. I can't find a babysitter. I don't know what you want me to do. And he's like, well, figure it out. You have to do it. And so I went to our HR director, which is Lydia, we mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And she is very black and white. And she said to me, well, it is in your job description to, you have to do remote broadcast, but it kind of is at will. And so she sided with me on this one. And he had JB do the remote broadcast, but he was pissed about it. Pissed about it. And then I had my wisdom teeth removed. And the bottom ones were impacted and I was having issues with them. And he would not give me any more time off. He told me, nope, you have to come in. So I was on air, still swollen. And every time I would talk, yes, every time I would talk, I could feel the blood oozing from the bottom impacted stitches that I had. They have to slice you open and chip those out and stitch you up. So yeah, it was just stuff like that. And I can't do this anymore. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. And at the time, my husband started the job where he was traveling. And so it was just me home with the kids. Our parents were not retired yet. So I said, I'm out. I can't. This isn't fun anymore. And that's kind of why I got into radio, because it was fun. And so I stayed home with the kids, had 2 more kids, and I didn't get back into radio until Shaylee was 3. So that would have been 2009. So I was out for a while. Yeah.
That's crazy to think that. I mean, a lot of stuff happened between 2001 and 2009.
Yeah, in your life.
Especially in Yakima Radio, because I was at the Bull. I was at the, because I'd come back to Sunny, which was 92.9. And interesting enough, what happened there was I was doing mornings with Tom. First book came out and Q went actually down and I got pulled aside by Ron and Cheryl. And they're like, we're going to have you oversee the Bull as well. And I went, wait a minute, my station just went down. What are you talking about? And you're giving me a promotion.
This is reverse. What's going on?
It was a reverse, but they had said that my tenacity, my drive, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, she goes, I said, I'm lucky if I throw 10 balls against the wall and 2 stick, and and Cheryl laughed and she goes, you throw balls, you attempt stuff. So that's how I ended up getting, the Bull, which of course people were like, he's not country. That was a huge, and well, all I got is country gold albums behind me. So it's it's ironic. It's just ironic. And that was part of Clear Channel. So that was kind of a big redemption for me with Clear Channel. Because what happened is I took the Bull in 3 years. I took it to third in the market from dead last. And that's when Clear Channel called me and said, we want you to come to Bakersfield and go against Buck Owens in Bakersfield. But that's literally what happened was I took, and so when they were talking about me on All Access and the radio boards, like, who's this Rick Mikals guy coming in from Yakima? and there's these people chattering. They're saying, well, he's taken the station from dead last to, 3rd place against right next to KXDD, which is that was a huge deal.
Oh yeah, that was
ginormous. No one ever got near DD, but I got near DD, and so Clear Channel says, move this guy to Bakersfield. So, but again, I learned never to lie to you after long way around in that story. But yeah, there's a lot of drama to come on this podcast. There's gonna be a lot more drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even so we worked together this last time and you were good about you have a way around. So if Cephas and I wanted information out of you, so let's take, for example, when we had that research group that listened to our morning show,
Yeah.
and then you got the results back.
Oh yeah.
And we kept asking you for these results. We
Right.
knew you had
Right.
gotten them and you would just kind of you didn't answer us.
No.
This is
No.
how I know when you're not telling the truth,
Right.
or I mean, it's not really not telling the truth. You're just evading
Yep.
telling us
Yep.
something or telling me something. You kind of, I don't know. And you just kind of like turn to your little keyboard and
Just
ignore
keep
us.
working.
Right. And then we just kept chipping away at you. And you finally had to admit that
Yeah.
you got them, and some of the stuff that they were saying about me at Cephas was mean, and so you were trying to shield us from
Well,
that.
of course. Of
But you
course.
didn't
Because
straight out lie to us. You just
it's an opinion, but it's so funny. It's an opinion. I mean, even
yes.
today, you have your favorite radio personalities and all that. It's an opinion, and some people are going to think you're great. Some people are going to think you're horrible, and and again, it's a consultant. I mean, consultants. We'll talk about consultants. They do serve a purpose. There's no doubt about it. And we worked with some great ones like Jay Albright and Becky Brenner and Mark Bolke. When you were on 107.3, Mark Bolke was the consultant back in the day. I can name all the consultants. So we'll definitely have to talk about that in a future episode about why you have a consultant and why it matters. And then it's kind of crazy today. It's just, it doesn't even work like that anymore.
Right. Do you even have consultants anymore? I mean, I've been on the radio almost 8 years.
In our company, we have brand leaders, that are within the company. So you've got somebody in a big market like Buffalo or something that's like, oh, he's the brand leader. And, and now because we're unrated, so Tri-Cities, Yakima, Wenatchee, all that's unrated, they actually really don't care. Yeah, because you're unrated. So it really comes.
Which we'll talk about ratings. That's a word definition.
Well, it goes back to that what we started off with: being a reporter, and then ratings, and how what that means. And we'll do some more behind the scenes about that in the podcast. I think people would find it interesting.
Yeah, and I think I must have left 107, and then you came back, and the whole Danger Boy stealing pumpkins. I don't remember that story. So I don't think I was there. So you should tell this story. I think it's fabulous.
Okay, so what happened was it under? Okay, so interesting enough, Kramer was still there. So Jeff Jacobs got fired.
Yes.
So Jeff Jacobs got fired. Guess who they brought in?
Glory Boy. Him back.
They brought him back. They brought Kramer back. Now, one thing about Cheryl, and she is my bestie, but we're going to be honest here. she loves her star ponies. So if they're volatile, if they're crazy, if
she doesn't care.
If they're a bull in the china shop, she dances the jig. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, if they give her ratings, she don't care.
That's all. Yeah, exactly. And interesting enough, if you're the hardest worker on staff and you're a wallflower, she don't care. She don't care. Yeah, but if you can do somersaults in front of her, she's all about you. So what happened was they brought Kramer back. He's volatile, crazy as always. And so they had hired in Danger Boy. Now we had Danger Boy during our little tenure, and he was still there.
Yes, because I remember him getting his nipples pierced live on air. I remember that. So
again, just to really quickly tell you what a Danger Boy is, a stunt boy is, you send him out doing weird, crazy things, and you create buzz around town. So one of the things that they did for buzz around town was during Halloween, they had him dressed in a lab coat, and he was taking pumpkins off people's front porch. Well, Danger Boy took a pumpkin off a porch he shouldn't have been taking it off to, and a lady got hysterical. And he goes, ma'am, I'm the pumpkin inspector. I just need to inspect this pumpkin. This is not regulation pumpkin size or whatever. Anyway, he came across the wrong person, and so she threatened to sue. And so the station had to pay out $6,000. And that's when they backed off. What happened, and interesting enough, that the era of the Danger Boys kind of went away because Sacramento, they had those people that were drinking water for weed. Go wee for weed.
Right.
So what happened? Somebody died. And so, and remember they were drinking water. So they had jugs of water and they were sitting on, I think, blocks of ice or whatever as well. And so it was pee or wee. It was wee for pee for wee or whatever. And anyway, after that person passed away in Sacramento, it was like stunt boys were out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You didn't call people to come eat, boogers or whatever. You didn't do none of that. Right. And it came down like, and all those people in Sacramento lost their job. you know.
Oh.
So anyway, it was a very sad story. I was actually in Bakersfield when that story broke, but I remember why the Danger Boys have gone away is because,
Right.
you know, the fear factor and all that's kind of gone
I
away
know, that's what I
because,
was thinking. That was so Fear Factor before it was Fear Factor.
yep, yep. And then the interesting thing about Danger Boy is he worked at KXDD for a little bit. And
Mm.
what happened to Danger Boy is they gave him the gas card to fill up the KXDD rig, and he had his friends line up, and he filled up all of his friends' gas with
No.
KXDD gas card.
Mm.
I told you, I have so many stories that you have not heard.
Yeah,
You
how
know,
have I not heard some of these? These are good.
these just flow out.
You've been holding out on me all this
Brown
time.
eyes and diarrhea just flows out. So
And then
there
the
you go.
GM that we worked with, he would make us reuse the
Yep,
paper
copy
from the
paper.
copy machine.
Yep,
And that's how we got to see everyone's salary.
yep. One time
Mhm.
because you always have to reuse the paper. Yep,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that was funny. And sadly, so here's the craziness, and we tie it off with this: is Dave Ahmet, who was a great guy. He gave his heart and soul to Inkstead. He was there 15 years.
Oh,
Clear
yeah.
Channel came in. Here was the guy reusing paper clips, staples. No, literally, like he was bombastic about it. Bombastic about it. I got to save a dime. I got to save a dime for Inkstead and Clear Channel. And Clear Channel walked in and let him go. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't care. They didn't care that he saved any money. And they also, and Inkstead shafted him for 15 years. He didn't get a severance or a goodbye, like, hey man, thanks for saving all that paper. You know, thanks for saving all that paper. Thanks for saving the paper clips. Da 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 da. You didn't get any of that. So
you didn't get a huge bonus.
Radio is a cruel, cruel world. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's see. During that time, we've touched about how at one point or another we've pissed off Pepsi and Coke. Was that when the Coke incident happened, or was it Pepsi?
Well, for me, it was
Maybe
on my Pepsi and Coke incident happened on Sunny at the time with Bob and Corey, and what happened was that they were talking about Pepsi and Coke, and Pepsi or Coke, or one of them was going to raise the price of the pop machine. Goes up in the summer and goes down in the winter, the price, and so they had talked about that and I think it was Coke that was going to do it, and Coke was the big client. And so they were like, oh, Coke shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, Corey goes into her office, and on the wall is Pepsi zero, Coke $33,000, which was a sign of they spend this much money. You know what I'm saying? And how dare you do that? And then Corey lost her ever-loving mind about it because I will not be dictated on what I can say on the radio. So that was the one Coke and Pepsi bombastic. And there was another time where Tom and I got in trouble, and Mike Trammell was his name. He was the general manager at Pepsi. He wanted Tom fired. Tom was famous, as you already know. You know me. When I do a morning show, I like to do real life. You know what I'm saying? That interests me. Show prep. We call it show prep. We'll talk about what show prep is in the future. But I don't do show prep. Well, he had done an article where, like, well, the new USA Today says that Pepsi rots your teeth. You know, and he said that on the air, you know.
Right, which is an article that he was just reading. It's not like he said it himself.
Prep, exactly. So Mike Trammell lost his lid, and we got called in there. And so Gary Myrie was the AE. I went down there with Cheryl. I was the program director at the time. Went in and I said, Mike, what can we do for you? And he goes, well, you need to fire somebody. I want him fired. And I said, I'm not firing Tom. You know, if you want me fired, I guess I'll be the one who gets fired in this situation. And I said, don't you hold Gary Myrie responsible for this? Cause he was the AE at the time. Right. He goes, why? I'm going to withhold the money. And I said, why? If you're mad at somebody, you be mad at me. You take out the anger on me, you know? And I said, I'm not firing Tom. And we cooled him off. That was, you know, but, he wanted somebody fired, and, you know, you can only go so far for a client. It was like, no, you don't, you know, he read a story. He read USA Today. It wasn't, he didn't lie. He didn't go on the air and go, don't drink Pepsi because it rots your teeth. He said the truth. He read the article.
Which I think I got in trouble because I said that I prefer to drink Pepsi over Coke, that I don't drink Coke. And then whoever was at Coke got upset because I said, but that's true to like who I am as a person.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, everybody knows that I'm a Pepsi guy. You know what I'm saying? I go into restaurants and go, do you have Pepsi or Coke products?
Oh, me too.
And when they say, "Oh, we have Coke," I go, "I'll take a Sprite, thanks."
Or water. I'm fine with water.
Yeah,
Can I have iced tea?
yeah. So it's one of those particular situations. So, but you're gonna get a lot. You're gonna get a lot of that in our business. You know that.
And during that time when we first worked together, I got married. You
Yep.
got an invitation to my wedding,
And
and you did not
way
go.
back, that was in 98, 99, right?
99. It was in 99.
Yeah, I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't go to John
Oh,
Lee's wedding.
stop it.
Well, you know me. I can be a little bit of an introvert. I have gotten better about that now because I realize the value that you need to do those things.
Even Kramer came to my wedding. I mean, we were doing a morning show together at the time, but he came to my wedding. But you did come to my 30th birthday party at Pete's.
Of course.
Then
absolutely.
Did you come to my 40th birthday?
I might have. I did not come to I think your 50th. I was doing something.
Yeah, the 50th one that just happened. You were supposed to come and you didn't. So
no, I think something came out. I couldn't do that one. But yes, I'd come to the other one.
It was snowing that day.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things where the older I get, the more I realize the value of doing those things. So so it was so funny. My niece was graduating from high school, and for my family, my family and Megan and I just show up out of the blue in Clarkston, Washington, and my brother just almost lost his what? My brother's here. And so we stayed and do that. So yeah, the older I get, the more I realize the value of friendship and doing things that are I guess awkward or things like that. You just got to go do those things.
Things that we would just rather stay at home and be in our pajamas and not have to go out and do.
Any day of the week.
I get it.
Yeah. If I could broadcast from home, I'd do it. So this is kind of.
I mean, we kind of are.
Broadcast. Yeah. You're in right now. I'm in my home office right now.
Okay, we're going to do radio word terminology definitions. I figured we'd make a little game out of this, and I will say the word, and you give that terminology or definition.
Okay, let's see if I remember. Hopefully my brain hasn't rotted, but I'll give my best shot.
And we'll probably have to do this in 2 parts because I came up with 39 words. I mean, some of these are easy and lame, but I figured we'd break them up and do half of them this episode and half of them next episode.
Well, if I'm as good as radio as I think I am, or people think I am, I better get these right. So all right, hit me with your best shot.
You'll do fine. Okay, first one, dead air.
Dead air. That is when now back in the day when you were live 24/7, you had to hit every segue. So segue means you're
segues coming
songs. Yeah, in between songs. So if the song ran out and you were in the break room, if you were chit chatting, if you weren't paying attention, and there's dead air
in the bathroom.
Yep, in the bathroom. That's the reason why you hear dead air between songs, and even out of commercial breaks, because the computer system had gotten to the point where it was live and auto.
There was no computer system back in the day.
Yeah, but they had gotten to the point where it was your live mode and you're in auto, and if it wasn't in auto, you'd have dead air.
Yeah.
So dead air is the silence between records.
The silence of death, basically, for us. We don't want that. We don't want dead air.
No dead air.
No. A commercial break.
Commercial break, well, also called a spot break. So that's the commercials, and those vary. They could be 3 minutes long. They can be up to 6 minutes long. Now, inside the commercial break, there are 30-second spots. There are. I was just going to say
spots. Commercial length is a word.
Commercial length is a word in there. So So when we stop down now, back in the day, you can do it when you program a station. You can do it either way. You can do 4 stop sets an hour, but they've done research that says 2 stop sets an hour. So they always seem to follow on every radio station at the same time. 20 after, and usually at 50.
What is a stop set?
Stop set is a commercial break.
Okay. Hard commercial break.
Hard commercial break. Well, okay, so let's say you're doing news talk. You know what I'm saying? It's running Rush Limbaugh. It's running Glenn Beck. It has to be exactly. If it says it's 10:20, you got to hit that hard stop set at 10:20.
Jingles.
Those are the songs that you love to sing, like and they used to have even jock jingles. So TV themes are jingles that you love them, and even radio stations have jingles. If someone can come up to a remote and sing a jingle to you, do you want to sing a jingle at all?
I don't know anything off the top of my head.
I can't off the top of my head, but it's something like continuous country favorites 92.9 something like that.
There you go.
Singles, but that's a jingle.
That was great. Liners, those are in between the music with what they call the big voice guy. 92.9 The Bull, today's hit country. And it could be a female these days. Today's best country, it could be a female, but back in the day, they only allowed men. Men was about it. So anyway, that's the big voice, and that's in between the songs when the disc jockey's not talking. Right. Remote broadcast.
Out on live, broadcasting live from Walker's Furniture. So that a live remote broadcast, you could be at the Valley Mall. That back in the day, it used to be live, and now we kind of pre-record those. But yeah, a remote break is when you're on location outside of the radio station.
Yes, the board, control board.
The board. Okay, so think about your keyboard that you're looking at right now, and think about that having like what they call slide pots or even rotary pots, and that's where the music comes out of. And there's different channels. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the mic channels. There's the music channels. There's the phone channel. All these different things. So it's a big giant board.
Yeah, it looks intimidating at first.
It's a broadcast board, exactly. Well, go to a recording studio. You and I can run a radio board, but go to a recording studio. We have no idea how that shit works.
No. Cue.
Oh, cue. Well, you're queuing up the record. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in forever. So back in the day, you'd take a record and you'd go and you'd cue it up to the start of the song, and you'd have to give it a couple seconds. So when you hit the button, the song would go and
fire off
at the right time for right at the time. Now back in the with you, they had cart machines that would have that. Yeah, would have that, and it would already be queued up and ready to go. So you're queuing it up. It basically means you're ready to go. Let's put it ready to go.
Yep. Music log.
Music log. So sorry to break everybody's heart, but the music is already provided for you. It's all plotted out, planned out. Maybe sometimes nowadays, days ahead. But back in the day, you would have a music log, and you'd have to you'd sign off on it that you played it, and then you have to play it in sequence.
Yes.
Or the program director would lose their ever-loving mind if you what we call cherry picked. Cherry pick's probably in there somewhere.
Yep. Oh, actually, no.
Cherry pick. Yeah, if you cherry pick something, you get in trouble for cherry picking, which means you go play a song that you shouldn't be playing that's not on the playlist.
Yeah, we've all gotten in trouble for that.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. I was working at Z103 in Idaho Falls, and I had a tough program director, and I had played, you're going to love this, Pearl Jam, Jeremy, back to back with How Can We Be Lovers by Michael Bolton. And it was 11:55 p.m. and the program director called me up and goes, I know I didn't schedule that like that. And I said, I know, I'm sorry. He's like, don't you ever do that again.
Which you probably got hotlined for that, which is one of my words coming up. But we'll just do that now. What's hotline?
Okay. Hotline. So there's a separate line that goes into the studio. Back in the day, that when they did exist, program directors would call and scream at you, yell at you.
It was usually a red. It would light up red too.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. It would. It would. Now they might be calling, tell you to do something, but sometimes it was just to yell at you too, and that would ruin your show.
You never wanted to see that. I never wanted to see the hotline light up.
Because getting yelled at during your show is the worst way you can bring it's the worst way you can bring somebody down. And we had a lot of a-holes in our career. That Kramer, let's create, Jeff Jacobs, all
Michael Jack Kirby hotlined me all the time.
It's usually misogynistic a-holes. They're bullies. I mean, honestly, truthfully, they're bullies.
Yeah.
That use that hotline. Tell me when I get off the air if you want me to fix something.
Yep. Massaging the music log.
Okay, so the program director is the guy, or the music director who is the guy or gal who is putting the music together. So a great example, when you schedule it, it's not a perfect log when you schedule it through the computer software. So you got to separate, like we talked about, females back to back, rock songs back to back, pop songs back to back. If you're in country, you got drinking songs, you got religious songs, so you've got to separate all those to basically give you a better log. And that's one of the things I can at least honestly say that I am good. That's one of the things I'm known for is massaging the log.
Massaging the log.
It sounds dirty now that you say it like that.
I know. That's why I put it in there.
Rick Michaels is great at massaging the
log. Voice track.
Voice track. Well, again, everything is computerized and automated these days. So I can record my show days in advance if I want. So a great example on our station right now is the morning, the 5 a.m. is what we call voice track, which means we're not there. And then we do a live, 3-hour live, and then there's an extra hour of us that's voice track, but we're not there.
Right.
So people say, oh, I heard you on the radio in the afternoon. I'm like, well, I'm at home, like right now. I'm on the air. Right. I'm on the air in Tri-Cities right now, but I'm not.
A satellite radio show.
Satellite radio shows. So those are your Ryan Seacrest. Those are your Howard Stern shows. Those are your major market shows like Brooke and Jeffrey. I know people are like, oh, Brooke and Jeffrey don't live there. No, they don't. And the Jubal show, Ryan Seacrest, Howard Stern, Rush Limbaugh back in the day before he croaked. and Glenn Beck and all those. Yeah, those are all satellite shows.
Yeah, which when my aunt and uncle retired and they started traveling in their motorhome all across the country, and this is been like 10, 15 years ago, Delilah's radio show
Oh yeah, they
was
didn't know it.
popular. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they asked
yeah,
me, how is Delilah
yep,
in Montana one day? And then when we travel to Oregon, she's in Oregon. And I had to explain that it's a satellite
yep.
radio show. It
And
kind of broke their heart a little bit. I felt bad.
a
But
lot of people don't realize that when you talk about the
Mhm.
second date updates, that there's actors. They're like, what? What?
Oh,
How dare
yeah.
you?
Oh,
How
yeah. We
dare
can
you?
get into that because
Oh,
that's going to break some
I
hearts.
can ruin the illusion of radio
We
all
are
day
going
long.
to. Mm-hmm.
But
Prize Pig.
Prize Pig. Well, you know what? I love all of our listeners, so I do. But a Prize Pig is someone that wins all the time. Like, and you're supposed to technically have a 30-day limit, but that doesn't matter
Yes.
to a Prize Pig. And
No.
I'll give you another great story
Or
about a Prize
they'll
Pig.
fib about it.
Right. So I was doing, we were doing a food bank thing during the pandemic with my station, Kiss FM, and we had T-shirts that we wanted to get rid of that were old, right? So we just lined up a table and people just came and got them. The last T-shirt was a child's small female, and this 300 to 400 pound guy walks up, and I go, "I'm sorry, it's a female small child T-shirt," and he goes, "I'll take it. I'll take it." That's a Prize Pig.
Oh, goodness. Maybe he's just going to use it as a rag. Who knows?
You wouldn't cover his crotch.
Maybe he
wouldn't cover his crotch.
Maybe he just wanted something with the radio station logo on it.
Oh,
as memorabilia.
He doesn't even listen to that kind of music. We're talking a top 40 radio station, and he looked like he was a rocker or something. So anyway.
Oh, goodness.
See, I have great stories on all this stuff.
You do. Production room.
That is where we put the commercials together. So, because you have the on-air studio where it's usually live, and then next door is usually the production room where we, Walker's Furniture or a Curly Subaru or whatever, putting the commercials together.
A program director.
Program director, that's usually the person who's in charge of the radio station. So they're basically in charge of all the things we talked about earlier. They hire and fire the on-air talent. They pick the on-air talent. They pick the songs. They pick the programming. They're in charge of it. That means when the ratings go up, they get the accolades, and when they go down, they also get shot.
Usually fired. Yep.
fired.
General manager. Yep.
General manager oversees the entire operation of the market. So they oversee sales, they oversee the traffic department, they oversee the air staff. They're basically the program director's bosses. Well, they're basically everybody's boss. And nowadays, and usually they're called vice president nowadays.
Oh, is that what their title is?
And market manager. Yeah, VP market manager.
Radio rep.
Corporate owned. Yeah. A radio rep. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier with the Plugola Payola. They're the guys that come to town that go, "Man, I got this great song for Sabrina Carpenter. What's it going to take, Rick, for you to add this song?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a good song. Oh, I'm almost there. Oh, maybe. Well, we'll give you some T-shirts. I think I like that song a lot more." So record rep, they're just salesperson for the record company.
Okay, so that's it for
Yay!
This episode. The list, like I said, I had to cut it in half because it was 39 words. And like I said, some of them we've kind of already touched on, but so we'll finish the rest of the list in episode 3. But I think with that, go ahead.
You know me, I just intersperse these stories, which kind of slows down the whole damn train.
Oh, it's fine. It makes defining the words, clearer for everyone. So then they understand it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think with that, we can end episode 2. This has been a long one. Hopefully everyone sticks around for this. It's a doozy, let me tell you.
Well, it's a good one, behind the scenes radio stuff. And the names have not been changed to protect the innocent. So look for episode 3 to be a lawsuit.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you so much for sticking around, and we'll chat with you next week on episode 3. Thank you for listening to Rick and That Michelle Chick. Yay!